If life were a movie, stress would be a totally misunderstood character that everyone thinks is the bad guy. They'd treat him horribly and do everything they could to get rid of him. But by the end of the film, everyone would see just how badly they misjudged his character and how he was really the hero all along. As for anxiety, nah, he's just the worst. We've all got stress. It's just part of being human. I've yet to meet a person in my practice who doesn't want to completely get rid of their stress. Even though we all deal with it every day, very few people understand what stress actually is. Adding anxiety to the conversation, which most people think is just another word for stress, really makes for some confusion. So let's set a few things straight. Stress is your body's way of saying, hey, we need to do something. It can be a physical sensation, an emotional reaction, or a mental process like a series of thoughts. However it comes up, it's nothing more than your way of recognizing that something needs to be done. Consider getting out of bed this morning. Some of us felt sore from laying in bed all night and needed to get up and stretch. Some of us had kids to get out the door for school and had to get ourselves to work. Others were hungry and wanted to get something to eat. In each case, the reason was the same: stress. Although it took different forms, sore muscles that needed to stretch, kids that needed getting ready, and a gnawing hunger, they're all types of stress. Stress is an engine that drives us to achieve our goals. It's what gets us moving, keeps us focused on tasks, and pushes us to reach our full potential. Without stress, we wouldn't do anything. If I could wave my magic wand and eliminate all stress from your lives, something I've heard many people wish for, I would effectively be ending your life. Wherever you are right now is where you would remain until you wasted away. You wouldn't get up to eat because hunger is a type of physical stress. You wouldn't want to go see anyone because missing people is a social and emotional stress. And you wouldn't feel a desire to get anything done because a drive to be productive is a psychological stress. I'm telling you, my magic wand, it's a dangerous tool. Now, just because stress motivates us doesn't mean it's always a pleasant experience or that there aren't any drawbacks. It's a lot like caffeine. It's not uncommon for someone to have a cup of coffee in the morning to help get them going. It allows for more focus and energy as they start their day. So if 1 cup of coffee is good, 15 cups of coffee must be great. Well, anyone who's experienced too much caffeine already knows that the opposite is true. Too much caffeine leaves you feeling jittery, distractible, and completely unable to focus. The trick for us as people is to find the sweet spot where we have just enough stress to keep us motivated and engaged, but not so much that we get overwhelmed and unable to do what we need to do. Complicating this delicate balancing act is the real villain of the story: anxiety. Anxiety is like stress's annoying cousin who drops by uninvited and then overstays his welcome.
Just can't believe you're actually standing here in my living room, Eddie.
It's that feeling of worry and unease that shows up before and lingers after a stressful situation. I've used hunger as an example of a physical stress. Now, imagine that you're able to get something to eat. You no longer feel the stress of the hunger pangs, but now you just can't shake the worry about where your next meal will come from. What if you can't find food? What if you can't tolerate the feeling of being hungry? How are you going to handle it? These are anxious thoughts at work. The feeling of anxiety is similar to stress, just more intense. People often report increased heart rate, rapid breathing, muscle tightness, stomach problems, a general feeling of worry or unease. If these feelings start to spiral, they can get worse and worse to the point that some people feel like they're literally dying from a heart attack or a stroke. This extreme experience of anxiety is commonly referred to as a panic attack. And if you've never experienced one, count yourself lucky. For those who have experienced a panic attack, if you're willing, please share what it was like down in the comments section. It will be huge for those who haven't felt panic before in helping them understand what the experience is like. Generally speaking, anxiety is similar to stress in that we feel a lot of the same pressure and desire to fix something. But because there's nothing that we can actually do in that moment, since anxiety is the worry we experience before or after the stressful situation, we're powerless to act. That's an incredibly uncomfortable experience for us, and it's the reason anxiety is so very unpleasant. So why do we even need to deal with anxiety? Why is it even a thing? Well, most things we experience as part of being human are related to helping our survival in some way. And believe it or not, anxiety and panic are no different. But I know what you're wondering. What possible benefit could there be from anxiety? And you see, that's the reason I love this audience so much. You always ask the best questions. If you think back to your high school biology class, you'll remember learning about fight or flight. For those that were out sick that day, fight or flight is the tendency animals have to react to threats by attacking that threat or by escaping from it. In order to do that successfully, there need to be some physiological reactions that make it possible. The animal's body needs more oxygen for its muscles, so breathing and heart rate increase. It needs to react quickly, so muscles tighten up like coiled springs. The animal needs all the energy it can muster, so bodily systems that aren't needed in that moment, like digestion, shut down so the body can send all possible power to the muscles. The very clever among you will notice some similarities between the fight or flight reaction and the list of anxiety symptoms that I shared just a moment ago. In fact, it's a little more than similar. The reason these lists are darn near identical is because anxiety and fight or flight are darn near identical. It's really just context that makes us see them as different things. Our ancestors passed along the fight or flight response to us because it worked to help them survive real threats, things like lions and tigers and bears. Those ancient people who weren't really good with fight or flight got eaten.
Yeah, well, that is unfortunate.
The ones who had that fight or flight reaction were the ones who survived and passed along their genes. So we today are genetically programmed to react really well to lions, tigers, and bears. But when was the last time you were attacked by a lion, a tiger, or a bear? In our modern world, the threats we face are almost always less deadly than a wild animal. A deadline at work, a disagreement with a loved one, or even just sitting in traffic. The problem is, our bodies haven't quite caught up to this modern reality. We still react to perceived threats to our well-being as if they were truly life or death situations. And perception is really all that matters when it comes to threats. Think of it this way. Here in Arizona, where I live, we have to be on the lookout for rattlesnakes when we go out hiking. If I'm walking along the trail and step down right in front of a snake, my body will react to that threat, and I'll have all the fight or flight reactions we've already talked about. It doesn't matter that I mistakenly thought it was a snake when it was actually just a piece of rope someone had dropped. My body will act as though that were the most dangerous piece of rope that ever was. As long as I believe it's a snake, my body doesn't care about anything else. This is why different people have different natural levels of anxiety. Some of us inherited a more sensitive fight or flight reaction from our ancestors, and some of us have more sensitive perceptions of threats than others. But regardless of how sensitive you may or may not be, all of us in our modern world are dealing with threats that are very different than what our ancestors had to handle. And this is a problem for more reasons than just the unpleasant sensations that come along with anxiety. When our ancestors defeated or escaped from the bear that was trying to eat them, what happened then? Well, they recognized they were no longer in danger, and they naturally calmed down. Everything that happened in the fight or flight reaction went in the opposite direction. Their heart rate and breathing slowed. Their muscles relaxed. And their bodily systems like digestion returned to normal. In short, the fight or flight response was replaced with the relaxation response. Now that was great for our ancestors. But when do we defeat or escape from our bears? When are we done with work deadlines, relationship problems, bills, parenting demands, traffic? The modern world is filled with near constant fight or flight triggers that we can never actually overcome. When does the relaxation response turn on for us? Short answer, it doesn't. unless we intentionally take steps to turn it on. And here's the good news. We definitely can learn to manage that fight or flight response and turn on relaxation. By practicing techniques like mindfulness, deep breathing, and meditation, we can teach our bodies to recognize when a threat is real and when it's just an overreaction to a perceived threat. So let's give you some things to start working on that'll move you in that direction. First, I want you to develop the ability to see the world more accurately. Like my example of thinking a piece of rope is actually a dangerous snake, each of us has faulty perceptions that repeatedly trigger our fight or flight reactions. But if we can learn to see the rope for what it is, not a snake, we can avoid a lot of the stress and anxiety we experience. We do this by learning to be aware of our thoughts so we can see the world around us accurately, which happens to be exactly what you're doing right now. If you're finding value in what you're learning, please take a minute to like this video and subscribe to the channel. There's loads more for you to learn, and all of it will help you improve your perceptions. Second, find the thing that helps you relax. For some people, yoga and meditation are incredibly effective at helping them let go of past and future stressors in order to relieve present anxieties. But for others, the idea of sitting quietly with their thoughts sounds more like torture than relaxation. There's no right or wrong when it comes to what works for you. A creative hobby like woodworking or painting, developing a talent like a musical instrument, taking a walk or a more intensive set of exercises, there's no shortage of what could work for you in counteracting the anxiety response. The effort of finding that thing is definitely worth it. Now, if you've already found what works for you, then number 3, make time for relaxation. It's been said that if you don't make time for wellness, you'll be forced to make time for illness. Unfortunately, while the world changed the way our fight or flight reactions get triggered, our bodies haven't changed in the way we're affected. Simply put, we're not designed to be in the constant fight or flight state that most of us live in. The constant anxieties we face have negative effects on our heart health, our ability to lose weight, our risks for cancer. Just about every bodily system is impacted. Learn to relax, or sooner or later, it'll catch up to you. Let's now do a quick recap by reviewing the 3 most important takeaways for this video. First, stress is not the same as anxiety. Stress is simply a signal from our body or mind that lets us know something is needed. We don't want to eliminate stress because stress is what keeps us moving and doing. 2, anxiety is the real enemy. Anxiety is the precursor to or the after effect from stressors that we naturally experience in life. Anxiety, by its nature, is focused on worries about stressors we already experienced in the past or fears of stressors we'll need to deal with in the future. When you get down to it, anxiety is really nothing more than the fight or flight reaction that our body is triggering because of perceived threats to our safety. And those perceptions, well, they're frequently faulty. Third, the cure for overactive anxiety is learning to activate our natural relaxation response, which is the automatic process that's in opposition to fight or flight. It takes effort and practice, but everyone can learn to turn on that relaxation response, and it will always counteract the anxiety response since they can't both be active at the same time. Now, I want you to take a couple minutes to think about how these ideas might be put to use in your life. How can you use this information to improve your well-being or the functioning of your family? Once you've taken time for that thought experiment, then pick just one thing that you'll implement and start practicing today. I'd really love to know what everyone is working on, so please let me know in the comment section what it is for you. And that's our video for today. Thanks for watching, everyone. Until next time, you've got homework to do. Take care. Thanks for watching today's video all the way through to the end. There's a couple recommendations here on the screen for videos that might fit what you're looking for. If you have any additional questions or need anything, let me know in the comments. Thanks and take care.